Behind me is one of the most photographed views in England, and today we're not going to photograph it. Instead, we're going to concentrate on the details, on how you can capture the most iconic locations in the world without photographing the main subject. Join me as we avoid the clichés by shooting the details. So as photographers, we often rock up at an iconic scene and try to capture the entire scene, including that iconic location. Now that is a good thing to do, but it's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes you need to photograph the elements of that scene in front of you without actually capturing that particular icon. A few years ago, I did a project called Glimpses of London, which goes into this exact subject of creating images that hint at an icon without actually necessarily showing it. I've written a blog post about that on my website, and I'll leave a link for that in the description below. Today, we're at one of the most iconic locations in England, beautiful Durham Cathedral, a place that I've photographed many times before, and a place that I've done videos many times before. If you see my recent video about the sheer number of compositions, combining compositions, you'll understand why I love this particular location. I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. But today, we are here not to photograph the cathedral, but to photograph all the elements within this iconic scene without actually touching the cathedral. The first element that we can pick off is the obvious one, and that's the mill on the other side of the river. Now that mill is part of the cathedral, it's part of the whole composition, but by zooming in and using the Weir as a leading line, you can isolate that particular mill, which is surrounded by green trees and has a yellow stone brickwork and contrasted beautifully. You can isolate it against those trees and create a beautiful composition. People will almost certainly know where it is because they will have seen it 1,000 times in the iconic view of Durham, but you're not actually showing that cathedral. Another element here that really works is the little boathouse over the river there. Again, in many images from this scene, particularly those taken behind this mill, that boathouse features. And again, it's got a beautiful colour contrast. You've got the reds and the greens reflecting in the water of the river. Work really, really well. It's an element that you can shoot on its own, directly close in, or you can incorporate the Weir in the foreground as a foreground interest. I've done many shots where I've actually used the Weir and used a long exposure to give us that ethereal looking water in the foreground and this beautiful red-green combination reflected in the water in the background. The Weir itself is also a great location. Very often, particularly in the height of winter, there's twigs and there's branches lodged in the Weir, and these make fantastic center points for long exposures. You get the juxtaposition between the rushing water and these solid branches and trees that are wedged in the Weir. They make for some really, really nice images. In the foreground here, you've got lots of plants coming out of the wall, below the wall. You can use those and focus on those. You can create the classic shot of the cathedral, but by using a shallow depth of field, you throw that cathedral back out of focus and actually concentrate on the plants in the foreground. It's a lovely shot. It hints at the iconic location, but it's not really using that location as the main subject. Because of the sweep of this particular vista here, you can also do a panoramic shot. I've done it a few times where I've put the camera on the vertical format. I've zoomed into about 50-60 millimeters, which is the ideal focal length for stitching, and then just taken multiple shots all the way around, all the way to the end of the mill there. The cathedral's in the shot, but it's not necessarily the main subject of the shot. The power of not shooting the cliché is that you start to think more in a documentary style of photography. You start to think about all the elements of a scene that come together to tell a story. And that makes your imagery more and more powerful. By combining all of those elements and then shooting the cliché itself, you're telling a whole story. And you can take that into other genres of photography. If you're shooting your family, for example, you can shoot the family group together, and then you can shoot the kids at play. You can shoot the details of the kids' toys. You can shoot the grandparents having a cup of tea over in the corner. It's getting away from the main subject will actually focus your mind on shooting all the little details that come together to make a photographic story. As I say, if you're more interested in this subject, I have written an article on my website called Glimpses of London. On it, I have some of the images that I used. I'll show you a few of the images here as well. It was a project that I did when I went back to London from Ukraine when my father died. It was extraordinarily cathartic for me. It helped me focus my mind, take my mind away from the events happening in my life at the time. And I found it a really good way to focus my mind on photography and improve my photography as well at the same time. Since then, I've done other projects, particularly based around the glimpses of concept. It's a really good concept to do a project on. It doesn't have to be London. I could do it here in Durham, glimpses of Durham. There are plenty of little details that you can work in to create images that tell a story without showing the cliched views. And doing that will improve your photography immeasurably. It's such a powerful way to advance your photography, and you'll be so happy with the images that you get by doing such a project. Avoid the cliche, shoot the details. Have you done a project like this where you've shot glimpses of or tried to deliberately avoid the cliched shot? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, a thumbs up would be fantastic, a sub would be even better, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.